Voices of the Bench community, greetings. I am Dr. Shashi Singhal, Director of Education and Professional Services with Ivoclar Academy. I hope everyone is doing just amazing. I'm sure you are excited to be at LMT Day at Chicago. I would like to take this opportunity to personally invite you to Ivoclar LMT Lab Day lectures. We have a stellar lineup of guest speakers, some of the industry's biggest voices, 18 total programs over 3 full days. I will be sharing information on cementation protocols during my course, what your doctors need to know about cementation. Our goal is to provide you with great information in a fun and enjoyable setting. Lots of exciting stuff, so please come and join us. You can log on to labday.com/Ivoclar, that is labday.com/Ivoclar, to see our lineup of lectures and to register for our programs. Don't miss this opportunity. Come and see us. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Greetings and welcome to episode 354 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
My name's Barbara. Still.
Barb, happy 2025.
Yes, sir. Here we are.
Yeah, it seems like you're starting it off with a cold.
It couldn't be any worse than last year, Elvis. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's okay, though. I'm all right.
I started the year with a dog that we had to take to the emergency vet.
Oh, no.
Because, Cuppy hurt her back, so she's on crate rest and all drugged up, which is fun.
Oh.
Noodles needed dental cleaning, so he's all drugged up. It's just a house full of
$1,000 dogs.
very expensive, but very true. Very true, but they're all just kind of messed up in the head, just kind of laying around.
So we know we won't hear them today, unfortunately.
Probably not. Cuppy, the loud one, is, a little drugged up right now.
Aww. So what's going on?
Well, we're excited for LMT Lab Day Chicago, which we can finally officially say that it's this year, and we can actually say it's next month.
Yes, sir.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
And as we've done for the last 2 lab days, the wonderful and spectacular people at Ivoclar have given Barb and I a really nice area to set up and record all the amazing people that go to this epic show.
Right on.
And to help get everyone else excited for Lab Day that's happening February 20th to the 22nd, we got to talk to 2 people from Ivoclar that tell us their journey and what to expect at the Ivoclar Ballroom.
Yeah, can't wait.
John Isherwood has done a lot of Ivoclar's PR, and for 27 years, he's helped them get the brand to where it is today. And in those 27 years, John has seen the company launch many successful and industry-changing materials like Emax, Prime, and Ivoclar. Joining John is Pat Coon, who joined the podcast last Lab Day.
Yep.
Now, Pat's a fundamental part of making sure technicians are educated on all things Ivoclar. So together, they weave the story of Ivoclar to bring it to the celebration of 20 years of Emax.
20 years!
Isn't that nuts?
Yes, it's wonderful.
Jeez. They talk about the early days, educating the industry, and the best part, we all talk about the grand ballroom that's being filled with 19 programs with some big names happening at LMT Lab Day Chicago. So join us as we chat with John Isherwood and Pat Coon. Voices from the Bench. The interview. Barb and I are super excited today to have a conversation not only with one of our favorite companies, but to get into the hype for LMT Lab Day Chicago 2025.
All right.
So let's meet our guest, John Isherwood. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Elvis, Barb, happy
Yeah,
Thursday. Hope you guys are well.
we are great.
Absolutely. We were all just complaining about how cold it is. So it's just to get everyone kind of the idea of how close we're getting to Chicago.
Well, Chicago's always freezing, so
Yep.
Balmy
And
37 in Buffalo.
I'm sitting here in Indiana, 30 and my first snowfall.
oh my God, it's
Goodness
like
gracious.
58 here. So yeah.
And welcoming back to the podcast. And Pat, I think we talked at last year's Chicago. Pat Coon,
That's
welcome
right.
back, sir.
That's right. That's right, Elvis. Yes, Chicago last year, and just so I can jump in down here in South Mississippi, we are our first cold snap of the year, and we're at 36 this morning. So, oh,
You're the reason Florida's cold because it hits you, and we're about 55, which is super
yep,
cold for me. But I'm excited.
yep.
And that's been your weather minute. All right.
Some voices from the bench. You're welcome. Oh,
So, John, this is your first time. We've communicated a lot. I want to start off. Barb and I both appreciate everything Ivoclar's done for us and the podcast.
yes.
I know you have a lot to do with that, and we can't thank you enough. But I think it's time everybody kind of hears your story. How did you end up at Ivoclar? What's your
Well,
background?
thank you. Thank you. This actually next year is going to be year 27.
Wow.
Holy
So I'm an
schmoly.
Ivoclar lifer. I really am.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Amazing company. I thought pre-COVID being in healthcare, we were bulletproof, right? And then COVID hit.
Mm.
And I quickly learned that, healthcare is not bulletproof, but it's been an amazing journey. So prior to joining Ivoclar, I'm a Buffalo guy, born and raised, married my high school sweetheart. I have two daughters. Both are expecting. One's expecting at Christmas, the other Valentine's Day. So
Aw.
this is new. My wife retired in June. A lot of change. It's all good. But before joining Ivoclar, I've always been a PR guy. So I'm a senior manager of corporate communications. Again, have been wearing this hat for 27 years. But prior to that, I worked in baseball and hockey. So we
What?
have yeah, it was a great ride. I learned a lot about things. Buffalo has a minor league baseball team. At the time when I was there, we were a farm team for the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cleveland
Mm-hmm.
Indians. Problem
Wow.
is,
I did not know that.
yeah, you work 15-hour days, and I wasn't home a lot. I was very fortunate to graduate to the Buffalo Sabres. I did that for 1 year. I
Was that
quickly
hockey?
realized hockey, yeah. So we
Yeah,
have the
okay.
Buffalo Sabres. I was a PR guy there in 1998. And I
Wow.
quickly realized my second daughter, Lauren, was born, and I was traveling. I was not a good husband, a good father, and I just needed to kind of make a change. And I met the people at Ivoclar, and forever grateful for, it's just a great industry, and I've truly enjoyed it. I get up every day and I'm excited to go to work. I don't dread it at all.
What'd you do PR for sports? Did you get to shoot the t-shirt gun or something, or how does that
You know
work?
what? Maybe a couple times, and I'll even be honest, I wore the mascot costume a few times.
Are you
Come
serious? That's
on.
Um,
hilarious.
That's
but
great.
public relations, and this was really pre-internet, just when computers were starting to have data. I was using a calculator to create statistics and media guides. And as a PR guy in the sports world, you're babysitting the athletes. You're trying, especially in minor league baseball, you don't have the stars to promote, so you've got to promote fun. And we had just crazy promotions. And actually, at the time, Buffalo was trying to get a major league team, and that
Mm.
was a really cool experience. So I was working with a PR firm out of New York, and Buffalo made a pitch, and unfortunately, we did not get it. The teams ended up going to Miami and Colorado, but it was a really cool process. The Rich family, a family here in Buffalo, owns the team. And I learned more that year about public relations than I did in college. I mean, it was just super inspiring. So, anyways, that's my story. And we love working with you guys as well. This industry is amazing. It's all about
Mhm.
people. And, that's my MO. My MO is all about, treating people properly with respect. And I think that comes back in twofolds.
Well, you and I have known each other for years and years and years, and I echo that sentiment. I love the industry as well, and I love Ivoclar. I've always been a fan. I've got a question for you, though. You said you met the people at Ivoclar. Like, how did you? So, what were you just interviewing? How did you make that transition to that great company?
So while I was with the Sabres, the hockey, it was just a crazy time period. And so I just stepped away from it. And I actually went to work for a friend who owned a public relations company. So I was actually, before I joined Ivoclar, just for a short period of time, I was with an agency and I was representing a dentist, and it was
Ah,
Children's Dental Health Month.
yep.
And they wanted to see if Ivoclar would sponsor Children's Dental Health Month. So I came over here to Ivoclar, made a pitch, reserved the money, got the for the doctor. And then Mike Brennan, who was the vice president of marketing at the time, Mike pulled me aside and he said,
I
I'm
like
looking for
you.
a, yeah, I like you. Would you like to come work for us? And to
Wow.
be honest, it's kind of a funny story. I said no because I had gone through so much transition and finally landed with a friend who owned a PR company. I didn't feel right. Then I came back a year later pitching Ivoclar again for more money.
Come on.
And at that point, I realized, when you work for an agency situation, I represented like 7 clients, and I could never know any of them very well.
Hmm.
It was all surface PR. It wasn't, and I realized that. And when I afterwards, Mike said, "Hey, I'm still looking for a guy." I'm like, "Really?
A
I'll
Aw.
year
take it."
later.
And I've been here ever since. And it like I said, it's been a blessing.
So that's cool that he asked you, and then you went back, and then a year later you were like, "Yeah, the time's right now."
Yep,
Good, good.
yep.
And what did
Great
you
story.
think walking into Iowa? I mean, it had to have been a whole new world for you.
Absolutely. I was a little nervous. I think public relations is a standard process, right? I just had to learn dentistry, and I was super fortunate at the time when I did join Ivoclar. Gary Severance. Gary was our director
I
of
remember him.
professional communications,
Yep.
and Gary's now with Shine, and he was my mentor. I mean, Gary is brilliant, and he just held my hand every step of the way. And when I felt comfortable, and still to this day, I try not to fake things. I'm not a dental technician. I try to give people a story the best I can. But also, I was so fortunate to have Bob Ganley. I mean, Bob's the guy who I really credit aesthetic dentistry. I mean, Bob made a pitch with Empress back in, the late 1990s, early 2000s about a promise for better dentistry with Empress. And, he taught me, he was so inspiring. His MO was, create a memory. Whatever you do, you have 8 seconds to make a connection with a customer. You need to create a memory. And I still to this day practice that. And, Bob was amazing. And I got to tell you, Bob loves Barb, right? He does.
I
He
think
We were
Barb
in
loves
Chicago.
Bob.
Knows Barb
Bob,
loves Bob.
but we were in Chicago one time, and he stops me and he said, John, you need to get to know Barbara better. She is amazing. And so
Aw.
that's, Barb mentioned that, we've been working together for 20 years.
Oh
And she
yeah.
was on the ground floor with Empress and Emax and helped laboratories realize the opportunity with that product. And,
Oh yeah.
next year it's really cool. Next year's 20 years of Emax. And that's going to be a big theme for us in 2025. So, you know, again, I'm very fortunate that I had people like Gary and Bob Ganley to help me along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Barb has spoken very highly of Bob over the years.
Yeah, because you know what? I gotta say what John said, and I've never heard that with you have 8 seconds to create a memory. And I think any time that you can make an impact on a person and give them a memory, and I've never heard that, John, and I really love that. And I would agree that that's what he does. He just inspired me to be a better technician and a better leader and a better person, and really, really great fond memories of Bob. So yes, everybody knows I love Bob.
So, Pat, we talked last year.
Yes, sir.
We got your story, but let's give us a quick summary and how you ended up at Ivoclar again.
Yeah. So my career started out in the Air Force as a
Yeah.
dental assistant and then a lab technician, and I did that between active duty and civil service for 29 years, and then got lucky enough. I was ready for a change from the
Mm-hmm.
Air Force life, and got that great opportunity to come work for Ivoclar as a technical consultant, working on materials and workflows on the analog side, and then that's gradually morphed over in the last 11 years to my current position as the senior field digital consultant, working on all digital materials and equipment and workflows and such. So.
What was that like for you to make that transition from analog into the digital world? Did you fight
Well,
it at all, or were you
no,
just
oh, absolutely not, Barb. I did not fight it. In the Air Force back in 2005, I saw where Sarek was, and we worked. In fact, I worked as I was running the lab there at Keesler Air Force Base, and saw where digital was leading us. And so I worked hard to get us one of the first digital systems within lab and Sarek 3D in our clinic there at Keesler. So I saw where it was going back there in 2005, and just have been trying to worm my way into this world the entire time. So yeah, I came on with Ivoclar in 2013 to work on zirconia and digital even back then. But it was, we didn't have a separate digital department. It was just somebody who needed to be able to work with design and working with zirconia. So. But then when I saw what we were doing with digital denture in about 2014, 2015, I just wormed my way into it. I said, that's something I want to do. And I didn't let anybody tell me no. And I just started working with it on
kept pushing?
my own to get there. So
You just walked into the room and just started working, and they were like,
yeah,
"All right,
basically,
well,
On my way.
don't let Pat
no,
do it."
Bill Barton was working very, very hard. He's another one of our technicians. He was working very hard with our team in Liechtenstein, and I would look over his shoulder and watch over his shoulder while he was doing that. And then as soon as I could, I got the software and started playing with it myself. So just so that
Mm.
I could become as knowledgeable about it as I could.
You brought up a really interesting point. There was a time when Ivoclar didn't have a separate digital, but
Yeah.
at one point it broke off. Not broke off, but became like its own thing. At what point does Ivoclar say we need to focus certain people on digital? I mean, at what point does it become so big that it becomes its own thing?
That's a good question. We've had a zirconia product in Emax
Sure.
since 2005. I mean, that was part of the original Emax system was our Zircad, but it was all for chairside and small things and things like that. But when we bought Veland or acquired
Mm.
Veland and
Ah,
in 2013, and then started bringing that in.
I tell you, we had one of those mills running for a decade. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
so do
that
we.
tiny little mill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh,
It
that
was a
little mini, that little
workhorse.
mini
Yes.
was a workhorse. It was
Yeah.
a workhorse for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, I think they just decided that, we brought them in, and then, you know, we kept the Velan name for a few years, but then
Mm-hmm.
decided that it needed to be Ivoclar Digital, I think is what happened, and to bring it under our name umbrella there. And that has slowly over the last few years kind of disappeared a little bit. And it
Yeah.
just, again, with the rebranding a couple years ago with everything, and just now everything is just Ivoclar. So I think it's just, bring it back under the house and keep everything in under one umbrella. So.
It didn't sound like anyone just threw a switch and things became digital. It sounds like it was kind of organically kind of just rolling into the next wave of what needed to be done.
Yeah, I think so.
If I could add, it was an evolving process. It was work in
Hmm.
progress, And as Pat mentioned, the branding now is strictly Ivoclar. At first, it was, hey, we're in digital. Now I think people expect that, and it's still evolving. Partnerships with like SprintRay. We now have R&D teams in our corporate headquarters that are focused on printing
Hmm.
materials. That's the future, and that's where we want to be. We want to be a partner in success with other companies to create materials and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see what
I love it.
happens.
So I was going to ask Pat. So in 2014 was
Hmm.
when you guys jumped into digital dentures?
We've been working on digital denture for, yeah, a decade at least. I mean, I don't remember the exact date. It
Mm-hmm.
was 13 or 14, but it
Wow.
was all in the background, and we were working with 3Shape back then to help improve their denture module to get it to something that could actually produce a denture. They had a denture module, but there was no way to really produce it at that point. You could design it, but you really couldn't produce anything. But we kind of worked with them to get that streamlined and make it so that we could get something produced with the software. So.
And in your opinion, now it's 2024.
Hmm.
How far have we come? How far has Ivoclar
Light
come?
years, light years, light years for me. I compare this all the time to the fixed world. You know, people don't think about digital dentistry until about 2004, 2005, with when CEREC 3D came out and for the chair side. But CEREC has been around since 1989, I think it was,
Wow.
doing stuff. And it took, 25 years for that to really, or not 25 years, I guess, but 20 years almost,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that to really gain any ground. And then, of course, we all know what happened when the 3D system came out in 2005. It just took off. But I think in the 10 years that we've been working on it, and just since 2017 when we introduced it to the world, that it has, which has only been 7 years now,
Yeah.
we are about at that point where it is starting to really, really take off, very much like it did for CEREC after what, 15, 16 years. So.
Hmm.
Yeah. Takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, it does take time. It takes time for those people on the bleeding edge of the technology to start doing it, and then a few more people will get in on that cutting edge and get in on it. But I think we're now where we're getting close to almost mass adoption. I mean, it's not going to be. It's still a very small percentage of the dentures in the world that are being produced digitally,
Hmm.
but it's in the U.S. it's a higher percentage than worldwide, the U.S. and Canada.
Well, why do you think that is?
I think the folks here in the U.S. are in Canada and North America are willing to take a little bit more chance. They're willing to see the opportunity that the digital denture world leads them into. They can see where the potential is in it. Europe and everything, they're a little more reserved. They're a little more reserved in what they want to do, but it is starting to take off there. But I mean, I say we're bigger than they are, but I mean, we're talking, 10% of the dentures here in the US are probably
Yeah,
made digitally. I think it's about 5%, 6% in Europe. So
that's
it's
not too
it's
bad.
where they're not that far behind us. It's
Yeah,
just we're a little bit further ahead.
good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 So,
You mentioned in Lab Day when we talked about a printable Emax. Where are we at on that? Give us the goods.
I couldn't tell you a whole lot more. I haven't. I know that they're still working
Yep.
on that with them, but I don't have a whole lot more information on it since then.
So they're still
Unfortunately,
working on it. Like you
yeah,
said,
they're
it
still
takes
they're still working
time.
on it. I mean, it absolutely takes time, and it will be there. So
Yeah.
it will be
That's
there.
exciting.
Absolutely.
So, do you want to segue into Chicago yet, Elvis?
Absolutely. I
Is
was
it
Sure.
just
time? Can we start celebrating?
That's a good point. Good point.
I
Yeah.
was bringing up some information that I have. So let's talk about the upcoming Lab Day Chicago. So Barb and I, this will be our third year
Yes.
that we'll be in your grand ballroom recording all weekend, but you all always put on a fantastic weekend.
Yeah.
What is going on this year? You mentioned the theme, Emax 20 years. That's pretty cool.
Well, thank you guys. So actually this year, we felt like over the last 10 years, we put our heart and soul into that. Again, that's a Bob Ganley thing. Like, we're going to Chicago, we're going to go big. This is what our customers
Yep.
deserve, and that's what we do. But this year we're changing some things up. So that big ballroom will have an air wall. The air wall will go up, and on one side of the ballroom will be Ivoclar Academy. So that'll be our main stage. We have 10 different lectures scheduled over the 3 days. And then on the other side of the wall, we're going to call it, it's going to have like a loungy vibe. And we're going to have an area inside there where we're doing intimate learning experiences for like 40 or 50 people, 1 hour long
Wow.
programs. You'll see a showroom, if you will, our team, and, just celebrating 20 years of Emax with just fun, 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 fun. And so, that's really the MO. And I think the lecture, we have 19 different programs in those 2 days, 21 different thought leaders, if you will, that are presenting. And we're super excited. And to have you guys back 3 years in a row is outstanding. I mean, you guys help carry the message, and we truly appreciate it.
Oh, we love our setup at Ivoclar. Honestly, that has just been so good for us because we've got these steady stream of, technicians and leaders, and they all just pop by. And I know Elvis loves it because we get about 20 hours worth of conversations.
I do love my content.
That's
How do you
awesome.
guys create a new and different experience every single year? It's got to be a team of at least 10 people. What do you do, like a think tank? And like, what are we going to do? And what's our vision? And like, how does that all evolve?
So that's a complete synergy, Barb. We have marketing, we have education, we have our customers. We always talk about listen more than you speak. You have two ears, one mouth. And I think what we try to do is, and also LMT, they share the type of information that dental technicians want.
Yeah.
We were thinking about hour and a half, 2 hour programs. LMT said, no, people want 1 hour programs. So there's so much education over those 3 days, but I get goosebumps thinking about it. The 3 days is hectic, but it's so much fun.
Yes.
It is so much fun. We try to, it's that old Bob Ganley adage, create a memory. And that room had been pretty much the same thing, and that's why we tried to change it up this year. And
So you were gonna do hour-long talks. Didn't Bob Ganley want you to have 8-second long talks? Wouldn't that be his?
that's more the elevator pitch kind of a concept. But yeah, and we have great people. We have some of our regular cast of characters, and then we have some newbies.
Let's name drop. Who are we going to see up on stage this year?
So, we have the two different spaces. So maybe from the Ivoclar Academy, this is the big ballroom where 200, 300 people can sit. We have one of the things that we're going to be doing is an Emax 20 panel discussion. Barb is going to join us. So Dr. George Tasowski will moderate. It'll be an hour-long program. Dr. Ken Malaman will join us. He'll talk about kind of the research of Emax over the years. Stephanie Goddard's going to join us, give us a perspective. Believe it or not, Glidewell next year is going to produce their 1 millionth Emax lithium disilicate restoration. Wow. That is amazing. So the longevity that material has had with Glidewell is outstanding. And Stephanie will share her point of view. Mike Roberts will join us. So Mike Roberts is the son of Matt Roberts, CMR Dental Laboratory out of Idaho. Matt retired a couple years. And it's a really cool story. You talk about, this product being around 20 years and just the generational shift of dad to son.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll share that perspective. Jessica Burrell will join us. Jessica's a laboratory technician. She's got a fun story.
Sure.
She created last year a documentary that she shared with consumers. So Jessica looks at things very differently, I feel like, than a lot of laboratory dental technicians. So Jed Archibald will join us. Jed's got the nickname Professor Prime. Jed works with Gordon Christensen and many of the great dentists around the world. He's done a lot of research. For example, Dr. Ed McLaren. And so this group will get together, and Dr. Tasowski will just kind of go through the evolution of the material, maybe tease what's on the horizon, and just talk about the product in workflows, the different materials, indications. And our goal is to celebrate that 20 years of Emax. So, that's just one of the programs. Got Lee Culp coming back to do a program. Yuki Moma. Yuki is just outstanding. He's a dental technician that's in Boston. He's actually in Japan lecturing for us now. He lectures all over the world. So he'll give you his take on our prime zirconia.
His name has dropped quite a bit on this podcast.
He is salt of the earth. I tell you, he's the kindest, and there's nothing he doesn't share. The secret sauce is there's no secret sauce.
Try to schedule him to come and visit us.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, we'd love to have a conversation with him.
Absolutely. And maybe just to keep going, like, John Wilson. John joined the stage last year. John's back again this year. He talks about purposeful design, and he's an inspiring guy. He too looks at things differently.
Mm-hmm.
In the intimate learning area, that now this is the smaller room. We're going to have programs hosted by Janelle Tabakovic. So Janelle will do a program on our Nexco product. We have one of our folks from Sean coming in, Dr. Benjamin Gephardt. He's going to tell everybody about our new Ivotion-based print, which is a material for printing primarily in this Asiga machine, but they're working on other developments with Sprint Ray as well and other companies. Pat Coon's doing a program. I'll let maybe Pat kind of chime in, but Pat's going to talk about what's new with our CAM software.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pat,
we'll
what
be
are you talking about? What is new with the cam?
so so we're going to talk about the we just released in October our latest version of our Programmable cam. Has some great updates in it, some new indications that people have been chiming in about and wanting are now included in the software instead of having to try to create your own strategies to be able to mill those in the program mills. So they are now included with it, and we're going to go over a lot of that and what else might be under the hood that can help our technicians on a daily basis as they're trying to get things cammed and produced.
Is PM7, is that program mill, what you mentioned? Is
Program
that the
Mill 7,
PM?
yes.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. That's what the PM stands
I
for.
had no
Yep.
idea.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what exactly is the difference between the academy and then you say they're smaller? So, what is it? Just less people, more intimate with the instructor?
Yeah, so the academy will be hour-long programs that will be on the one side of the room where 200 to 300 people will come. In the lounge area, we're going to set up like 40 chairs so that it could be just, there's different ways to take in education, and we just felt like these will be more like demos. So,
Oh
and a
yeah.
chance for, like Yuki's going to do a program, for a chance for people to just really get to say hello and thank them.
Yeah,
So yeah, just a different environment. Can't put everybody on the main stage because of time. So we thought, we
sure.
want to bring more programming to LMT Chicago. So this is new for us, but we're super excited to try these little intimate learning sessions. They will as well be 1 hour long.
Yeah.
So did you guys have to get like twice the space, or are you just changing it and breaking it up a little differently? Because it
No,
sounds
so
bigger.
that ballroom's huge, and we've always left the wall open. This year, we're going to close that wall and actually create two spaces. So,
Okay.
you come down the escalator, you turn the corner, we're going to open that door. So before you get to registration, that door now will be open, and people will be able to
Oh.
actually go into the one side of the room or the next side. There'll be a sign that will have the different programs. And then traditionally, people have entered across from the LMT registration
Yeah.
area.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So this will be, why we didn't think about this years ago, I don't know. But this will be a little different. And
Yeah.
the stage is going to be so cool. I mean, we're going to have lights, talking about a DJ with intros, just, again, trying to create that memory so that people enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to
And you
find
guys
Barb
are in
and
the
I,
first. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
to find Barb and I, are we in the door before registration or across from?
So
Across from.
yeah, both. So
Oh.
the first door will go into the Ivoclar Academy. The second door, which is kind of sits kitty corner to the
Mm-hmm.
registration area, they're going to be able to enter there or across from LMT. So there'll be two doors open into the lounge area, one across from the LMT registration, and then one as you go down the hallway before you get to it. So so that's how we're going to separate the two rooms. The first room that you'll cross, Ivoclar Academy, big lectures. Second room will be our lounge, where we'll have our showroom of products, where you guys will be, and where we'll
Nice.
do these intimate learning sessions.
So you guys have a sweet spot. I mean, literally, you go down the escalator, and bam, Ivoclar is right there. Did you secure that spot for like 20 years?
Yeah, we've had that. That's how LMT rolls, and we appreciate that. We have
Yeah.
the first right of refusal. And kudos to LMT. What they do for us in our profession is amazing. And these shows, we go to West and East and Chicago, and it's a great chance to get to see our customers. Maybe a little tidbit on LMT as well. Next year they're going to do webinars, first
Ooh,
time ever. So they're actually, I think Judy was waiting for the right time, and her and her team now are going to do live webinars and on-demand stuff. So, they're
Hmm.
all about education as well. So kudos to them. They're
yeah,
an amazing partner.
for sure. Webinars at the show
No,
or
I mean,
webinars like
just
after the show?
yeah, after the show. So they're going to have a platform next year, and that's going to be one of their new offerings where I think it's going to be like on Wednesdays from 1 to 2, where down technicians can take a break and join in on a live webinar.
Nice.
You
You
know,
heard it
so
here, everybody.
I imagine
yeah,
Ivoclar is going to be doing a few of those, I would hope.
yeah, I did, Elvis. Thank you. I reserved a few.
Nice. Smart guy.
Putting Pat on there. Pat, you got to do a few.
I haven't been asked yet, but
Uh,
I'm always
You will
open.
be. You will
And
be.
I got to tell you, Pat and the team back there, I knock on their door all the time and they're just amazing.
Yep.
How they treat our customers, and me, they never say no. So I might be putting you to work, Pat.
there you
All
go.
right. Hey, put me to work. Keep me employed.
So, Pat, what do you do during Chicago? Because you're on stage for an hour. Is the rest of
Yeah.
the time just kind of customer service, answering
Yeah,
questions,
it's
or
talking to customers about the new digital equipment, answering questions, maybe helping troubleshoot something that might be happening to them back in the lab. But it's all about getting to know them a little bit better and doing what I can to make their life easier.
yeah?
Is that
Do,
what you pretty much do like daily? Are you traveling
Yes.
to different labs and troubleshooting and helping and
I do. Yes, Barb, I absolutely do that. I go into labs, help troubleshoot when they're having an issue with Prime or with a mill or with a printer or something of that nature. I will go out and teach. My focus is mostly digital denture nowadays, but
Mhm.
I can do other classes as well. But usually I'll go out and do a couple days of digital denture training and holding their hand and trying to get them through the process of from scanning in impressions to outputting a denture, things of that nature, and of course doing some courses at our academy locations, whether it's in Amherst or Mississauga in Ontario, or even out in Santa Fe Springs in the LA area. So
Wow, you guys have three now?
we've had three for a little while. Santa Fe Springs has been on the kind of the back burner for a little bit, but the two at Amherst and Mississauga have been running hard though. So.
Wow.
This whole,
Hmm.
post-COVID and how people consume education you've got podcasts, webinars.
Yeah.
It's been tricky, but Ivoclar Academy is our
Hmm.
education platform. And what that means is we have a portal where we have our own webinars, where we have videos, tutorials. So that's another thing that Pat does. He's working with our team to create instruction for
Hmm.
use or tips and tricks. And so if you go to our website, you can click on Ivoclar Academy, and it's an amazing resource. But Ivoclar Academy also includes brick and mortar, so these facilities that Pat talked about. And then in general, when you talk about what we do
Hmm.
with dentists as well, we're involved in almost 500 different
Wow.
educational
500.
programs a year.
That's
And
more
that's
than what I do. How do
500.
you do that?
When you talk about it, it's mind blowing. It's a team. Dr. Singhal and Tabitha and our education team with Pat and the team of technicians and our docs. It's working with at trade shows. It's working with continuums like Clinical Mastery and there's a bunch of them out there.
Hmm.
Seattle Study Club, Pankey, Dr. Brady. It's an amazing network. And it's just, that's step one, right? If you want to earn somebody's business, you have to teach them, you have to earn their respect.
100%
And I
agree.
think that's why that for us, that's step one. And that's why we're so active in education because nobody knows our products as well as we do.
Pat, do you ever have to teach clinical?
I have done some clinical courses on Emax and CEREC, but or chairside. But yeah, I do that every once in a while. Once in a while, I'll talk to a room full of dentists about how to get into the digital denture world and what the lab needs for the doctor to provide them to actually get this going. Because
Mm.
a lot of times they're unsure. They think that it's completely different than what they're doing in the analog world, and truly, it's not.
And let's be honest, they're not doing, I'm not dishing dentists, but
No.
analog also has been difficult for them.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not well trained and they need a lot of hand holding and a lot of
They do.
teaching that I would assume digital would scare the heck out of them. So that's great. You've
Yes.
got to bring them together and say, hey, it's really not as hard as analog, I don't believe.
No, I think once
Yeah.
they get around the idea that, especially with everybody's used to, if they're doing dentures, they're used to doing a wax try and they're used to being able to move teeth chairside and things like that. Most doctors don't, but
No, they
there are those
don't.
ones that do. There are those ones that
Yeah.
do, and that's the hardest thing for them to get around is what do I do with that? And I tell them you just learn to communicate just a little bit better. Tell the technician what you need, and they can handle that because they're not getting something in wax. They're getting a big solid block of resin to
Yeah.
evaluate.
I always have to kind of emphasize that digital doesn't fix all the analog issues.
No, no, it does not. No, if they can't take an impression, or they miss something, that's going to be missed in digital just as well. Trying to teach them those basics and things like that to get a better product is where we're at. So.
Yeah, digital is not going to help you get a bite that a 15-year-old edentulous patient doesn't have. It's
Right.
not going to fix that problem. But
Right,
there's
right.
different ways to do it.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah. And I imagine, remembering our audience, teaching to technicians is probably a little bit easier and fun.
Yes,
More
yes,
fun.
yeah. I love teaching to all audiences. I would say my favorite part of my job is the teaching, and then second favorite is actually going into a lab and helping with an issue that they're having. Both of those are very customer forward type of situations where getting in and talking to the technicians and the doctors and what the troubles are they're having, and trying to, as much as I can, help them get past those issues and learn to handle them better. I just love doing that.
Yeah.
Well, on this topic of education, I know Ivoclar is, it's global, right? You're in basically every continent. Do you ever get together with the other educators in other parts of the world and kind of bounce ideas off each other, or maybe kind of see what other people are teaching?
We definitely do. We definitely do. We have usually once a year or so in several different areas. We will have what we call a T&E meeting, a training and education meeting. In fact, I was just at one at the end of August in Liechtenstein with all of our digital masters from all over the world. So all of the other technicians that are doing digital training and education and support. We all got together for a week in Liechtenstein and Sean and learned what was new coming out and learned some new tricks with the new software, asked each other questions and helped to figure out, what's going on with this customer, that customer, and seeing how we could help them. But yeah, we do that at least once a year. So.
And maybe just to add to that, like Yuki is actually lecturing for us in Japan.
Right.
He was in Mexico earlier
Wow.
this year. He was in Italy. One of the guys that we have, a new person that we have on the stage in Chicago, is his name is Mariano Morizi. So Mariano is out of Argentina. He has 85,000 followers on Insta.
Yeah.
Wow.
He has an amazing message, and he too travels around the world to teach different protocols, but he's doing a program for us in Chicago called Aesthetics on Teeth and Gums. A very simple title, but he has this technique he calls his cover makeup technique, where he puts a thin layer of enamel on, and through his process and protocols, it helps with controlling surface texture and reflection of light. So I'm super excited that I think people will find his program just inspiring. He's a very, very neat guy. So, but yeah, there's a lot of synergy in all of this, Elvis. And I think we try to work the best we can to have, a unified message, Ivoclar education globally.
So do you use Instagram and to find new techs and to see what techs are doing with your products?
Yes, I do.
You're like Elvis. Awesome.
I mean, it is, and that's one of the things I do. I go on Insta every day, and if somebody posts a message, I thank them. They're doing us a favor. And why do people post? They want that recognition, and to me, that's a no-brainer. And actually, another entree into Chicago, we have a gentleman that's going to lecture for us. That's how I found him, Barb. His name is Aaron Johnson. Aaron works at CMR Dental Lab with Mike Roberts, and the guy does amazing work with our blue block. Outstanding. And so I texted him one day and said, hey, you want to join us in Chicago? And he said, yeah. So there's some new blood.
So what's he do with the blue block? Give us a little hint.
He's a master. He I think the title of his program is Living in a World of Blue. So
I love it.
It's CMR Dental Lab. They're all in on Emax, the family of products. They press, they CAD, they use the prime. I don't know exactly the protocols for what they use for each, but he's just going to share his tips and tricks. I think for him, he's all in on the blue block. So Mike has him focus on dentistry with that, and they've just found the fit and they play with different settings. I think they're doing very thin veneers.
Wow.
So he's going to share a lot of that. And I think, Ivoclar right now, we're really focused on, I think the industry is on zirconia. We don't want to lose sight of this animal called Emax lithium disilica that really has been an amazing product for our industry for the last 20 years. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's bulletproof, right? It's just we don't get a lot of calls from people saying crowns are breaking, falling off, and that's why I work for Ivoclar, because we put the research in before we do the work, we test it. It's super important. Patients deserve that.
Yeah, and that's so true. I mean, I've been working with it for that long, and I swear, I very, very rarely see one come back for breakage. I mean, it's a hardy material. It works well. You guys have great R&D, and it's just it's longevity. It's no doubt it's 20 years. It's so
Yeah.
exciting. So much we can do with it as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah, thank you, Barb.
So I think it's important to note that this Aaron guy, he just tagged Ivoclar on Instagram to get your attention.
No, so sometimes I'm out
Because
there.
I think a lot of people
It's
are
not like
doing
you,
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just depends, Elvis. Sometimes I'm just kind of wandering. Sometimes people will tell me about somebody. So same with Facebook. And then I'll just start to follow them, kind of see the behavior and what they're doing. And then if it makes sense, sometimes we have thought leaders come to us that want to become full-time educators, and they want X amount of dollars. And that doesn't always work for us, because as a dental professional, in our opinion, you'll make more money in the practice or in the laboratory than being a professional educator.
Yeah.
And it's got to be right. We've had people come in and say, I can do this, this, and this for XYZ. And it's no, it's really, it's about the passion and that kind of thing, that we want to align ourselves with people that, want to do good for the profession. So there's a vetting process, and it's worked out well.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and I like that message too. It's not for the money, it's not for the fame, it's because you love it.
Exactly. And that's where it has to start.
Yeah.
Has to start there.
it's very similar how we find guests for this podcast.
Yeah.
Other than nobody's asking for money because we don't have any, but we find you online, we see your passion, and we just want to talk to you.
For sure.
Yeah.
So can we give Prime a shout out?
Oh,
Talk about Prime and just the way it's changed the Ivoclar in the industry. Which one of you wants to talk about it?
I'll let the expert.
Yeah, I mean, I think Prime is, and especially now with the Prime aesthetic, being able to do just about 80% of anything you want to do in the lab with that Prime aesthetic, from single units up to 3-unit bridges, and it is so nice coming out of the furnace, matching the shade guide. I think it's just made things so much simpler for technicians if they learn to use it and use it well. I think it can make their life so much easier. It's just such a I couldn't believe the product when I first saw it, a couple years ago, and at a meeting where they were introducing it to us, and they compared, and this was back when it was just Prime and the 3Y little bit more opacious material, but comparing it to an Emax press multi restoration side by side, it was hard for all of us technicians without looking at the inside of the restoration to tell the difference between them. I mean, when we look at the inside, of course, we can tell the difference because we can see the unglazed zirconia, but otherwise, it was very difficult for us to tell. And I think they're just that product is something that everybody is trying to duplicate now. Where we're the first ones that had a multi-Y restoration on the market, and now it's everybody is getting one. None of them have the gradient technology like we do, but it's everybody is trying to copy it now.
And just clinically, the way it photographs. I mean, you see these photographs, and you're just like, wow. There's no way that's zirconia.
It's
like no way.
It's amazing. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So,
does it replace Emax?
No. I would never say that it would replace Emax. I mean, it can get close in situations, and I will always say this to anybody that asks. Even if they're trying to get zirconia, if I get somebody and they're trying to match a number 8 to number 9 on a full contour restoration with zirconia, I'm going to say probably you should probably try something with some actual glass in it, some Emax, something
Mm.
like that, because that is going to give you a little bit more lifelike,
Yeah.
translucency and depth and such. Now, if I'm doing, a full mouth and I am replacing, number 5 through number 12, then everything is going to match, and I'm going to make my life easier, and it's going to look fantastic. Being able to use Prime, or Prime Aesthetic
Mhm.
specifically to get that.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
if I'm doing that single central that I have got to match the tooth right next to it to a T, Emax is still going to be my go-to.
And I like the way you can combine the cases, and you can do your, front six with
Hmm.
Emax, and then your,
Hmm.
your posteriors with the Prime Aesthetic, and everything matches.
Right. Yeah, because that's really nice, because like you said, as you're moving further back in the mouth, it gets a little bit, less out of the aesthetic zone, so you don't notice that transition quite as much. Although, it's even hard to tell that transition
Right.
from one to the other.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
what I always recommend when a doctor calls. Well, when a doctor calls and says, "Hey, I need some, stronger posteriors, but I want
Hmm.
the anterior to be an Emax," and it's a no-brainer. It's
Oh,
like, I've
absolutely.
got the perfect material for you, and it photographs unbelievable, and it's strong, and it's just
Yes.
all day, every day. I recommend it.
Yes. Yes.
What do you use more of, Barb? Emax or Prime?
Oh, it's about half and half. We do, I mean, we do more posteriors with the Prime, but uh, we do a ton of
Yeah.
both.
So you mentioned earlier, we're getting ready to wrap up, but Emax is on its 20 years. I have a long-standing request to know whose lips are on the stickers.
I knew you were gonna
I
ask for
have
it.
been
Been on the
asking
string
on this podcast, I probably have asked four
for
or
a
five
while.
different people, and I've had a couple different answers. John, do you know this person? Do you know this story?
I don't. I recall it.
I was hoping you'd
I
be it.
recall it being a patient out of Sean, but I got to tell you, those lips still are kind of the foundational brand of Emax. I mean, that helped us
Isn't
tell
it
that
crazy?
story. And I think once, when we introduced Emax, it was this umbrella of materials. But a few years in, lithium disilicate just rose to the top through some studies that were done through the NYU, Dr. Malaman and Van Thompson, and people started to realize that the lithium disilicate was just a special material. Um, and it's funny, as we're into 20 years, we're thinking, how do we come back? What is the branding of it? We're still going through that. But the lips and the magenta was super powerful. But Elvis, next time we talk, I'll get you that answer.
That would be amazing. I think it was maybe it was Lee Culp who told the story of how in marketing the lips were closed at the beginning and they slowly opened as it got closer to launch. Do you
Hmm.
remember that? Is
I
is that
don't.
true?
I don't.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I'm obsessed about them, but I really
Sounds like it.
a
No.
little bit.
You are. You are. Well, I mean, it's pretty remarkable marketing when you're selling a
Yeah.
material with lips, and you're not even seeing teeth, but yet it took off, and it obviously made an impact with Elvis and the rest
Yeah.
of the industry for sure. I mean, it was
I think
genius.
the reason it sticks out to me is because I started in this industry in the shipping department, and I had to put those little stickers on every invoice of Emax that we did. And I just kept seeing these lips over and over and over. And somebody did something right way back in the day. And here it is 20 years later, and I'm talking about it on a podcast. So
That's
I
awesome.
don't know if that says more about you or less about me. I'm not sure.
So I'm curious. Everybody always launches something, and I know you're not going to tell us, but in
Yeah, you
February,
will.
is Ivoclar launching some new things that you guys are going to announce then, and obviously not now?
I think for us in Chicago, the Ivotion based print is a big priority. Our
Hmm.
new CAM software. There are lots and lots of developments going on behind the scenes with other products. We'll have some product launches later this year. I think, though, to be honest, really it's just spending time with our customers. And I think, our focus is Prime Zirconia, Ivotion, and really just helping them understand these products the best they can and to be good at them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a celebration. I think you
And a
guys are
celebration.
celebrating big
Yeah.
time. Are you having a party?
Yeah, this
We're
is my
working on
question.
that. Yeah, we're
Normally
talking
you
about
have
a
a bad party.
Yeah.
Bad isn't
Yeah.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, we had the party, and a few of the girls, the ladies of the Mills Girl, got up on stage with the band and were dancing. And it
Oh,
was,
yeah.
as a PR guy, I almost pooped my pants, right? It's not a good thing, like what's going to happen here? But yeah, again, I think our customers deserve that. It's a create a memory, and we haven't finalized plans, but we'll have something up our sleeve.
Sweet.
I remember how packed that party
Oh, yeah.
was.
It
And
was
you had like lightable ice cubes or something.
I was just going to
Yep.
say
They were
that. You light in the
everywhere.
glasses.
Yeah.
And that's our
Yeah.
memory, you see? You created it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It took 8 seconds for me to realize there's too many people here.
That's funny.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for coming on the podcast. Super excited, not only just for Lab Day Chicago. I mean, every year I just get so excited to see all the friends and the people in the industry, but just thank you for giving us the space to do what Barb and I love to do.
Yes, yes.
It really sounds like it's going to be hard to keep Barb in her seat with all these speakers you have up, because she wants to
I'll
go
do my
watch
best.
them.
I'll do my
Yeah,
best.
please.
Yeah.
Just thank you.
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you.
doing what you do.
Thank you, and thank you, Ivoclar.
Yeah, and thank you back. You guys,
Yes.
you guys are tremendous service for our industry. Conversations are so important, and we truly appreciate letting us tell stories with you.
Yes.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah.
We'll see you all in Chicago.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Happy
Excellent,
20th,
gentlemen.
Emax.
Woo-hoo.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk to you soon. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
A huge thanks to John and Pat for coming on the podcast, and to all of Ivoclar for you guys' support of us and the industry. While many companies are tending to give more resources to the clinical side over the lab side, it is clear that Ivoclar sees the benefit of supporting our industry, and we really hope that you can support them back. Take advantage of all the free education by hitting the Academy tab at ivoclar.com. And of course, this should go without saying, but make sure you register for LMT Lab Day Chicago at lmtmag.com. Come to the Ivoclar Ballroom right by the registration desk and say hi to us, or come on the podcast. And while you are there taking a lecture, they are going on all weekend, or take a look at some of the amazing things that Ivoclar does to make us better technicians.
Now, let's not forget, Barb, you're on a panel during Chicago.
I know, I'm so
right?
excited.
Yes, this is a pretty nice lineup of some pretty smart people. I'd be intimidated if I was up on that stage.
No pressure.
So this is happening, what, Friday?
3 to 4.
3 to 4. That's the 21st. So yeah, so make sure everybody come see Barb and her panel.
Yay.
And I think it's just talking about Emax, right?
Oh, yeah. We're celebrating, talking, chatting about Emax. Yes. 20 years.
That's cool. Make sure everyone goes to see Barb.
To see a full lineup of speakers, check out lmtmag.com/Ivoclar /seminars. Or is
Yep.
there a dash there somewhere? I don't know.
No, you're correct on your slashes.
Thank God. I know that was a lot of web address, so just check out this episode show notes for all of them.
Awesome, everybody. Barb, I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
You're sounding a little nasally.
I am. I know.
All right, everybody. That's all we got for you. Happy 2025. And please, we'll talk to you next week.
See ya. I'm going to go run it off.
There you go. The hell with my knees and my cold.
Right
I'm
on.
going for a run. The views and opinions expressed on the Voices from the Bench podcast are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the host or Voices from the Bench, LLC.